Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time, and I have a question for you. With the third stimulus check, the $1,400 stimulus check, is it more likely to be saved rather than spent? I believe the answer to that question is yes. In fact, the increased savings rate amongst our fellow Americans, because more people are saving the third stimulus check compared to the first stimulus check from last spring, the first $1,200 stimulus check. Remember that? The third stimulus check, the $1,400 stimulus check, is going to be saved by more people. In this video, I'll talk to you about why this is a good thing and why we can make our way out of this horrific crisis we find ourselves in. On your screen, you'll see an article from Bloomberg that reads, Americans saved up stimulus checks could bring economic boost. More than one-third of likely recipients plan to stash money for later, according to a survey that was commissioned by Bloomberg. Now, let me ask you folks a question. You've heard about the cycle of poverty, right? Here it is, the cycle of poverty on your screen. I've talked about the cycle of poverty on my channel. The cycle of poverty is a vicious cycle where it can take individuals decades. Sometimes it can take families generations to break out of the cycle of poverty. In other words, you don't have access to the right kind of resources. You don't have access to the right food, the right water, the right education, the right mentors to be able to escape the cycle of poverty so that one day you're not working for money, but your money is working for you. I have to be completely honest, I was able to break free from the cycle of poverty in one generation, and those are the lessons I teach on my channel. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that I was able to go out and seek the right advice, seek the right mentors, go to conferences, read books, attend workshops, watch YouTube videos, and I'm trying to return the favor with my channel. By the way, if you learned something new from this video, please give me a like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you. Let's just jump right in. On your screen, you'll see a chart that shows you the change from the first stimulus check. You'll see that more individuals relative to the first stimulus check are going to be saving the third stimulus check. More individuals are actually going to use this money for vacations and trips, and some individuals, and this is super interesting, this happens to be low-income individuals, are actually going to take this money and try and become a part of the next AMC or the next GameStop or the next short squeeze. So the major takeaway here is that now with the third stimulus checks, individuals are less likely to use it for food, to use it for rent, but they are more likely to save it, and they're more likely to potentially even invest it in the stock market. Now, I can assure you that when we look at data like this, you'll have conservative Republicans like Senator Rand Paul. There he is. What's up, Rand? And you'll also have conservative senators like Rick Scott from Florida. What's up, Rick? So you'll have them saying, oh no, we shouldn't be spending all this money. It's not targeted. It shouldn't be going out to people. We're being irresponsible with the money. By the way, this is the same party that did vote for a massive $2 trillion, over $2 trillion in tax cuts in 2017. So there you have it. But the important thing here is there are actually advantages to a slow burn stimulus. According to the article from Bloomberg, and I'll provide you with a link to the article in the description section below, it could spread out government support over time and avoid the kind of consumer spending stampede that's leading some economists to warn of inflation risks. What that basically means is this. If lots of people go out and buy something, then that leads to a weakening of the dollar. That leads to essentially you having to pay more for a gallon of milk, you having to pay more for a loaf of bread. But if individuals essentially stash this money and then slowly start to spend the money when the economy reopens, guess what? We won't have inflation. And this can actually lead to a sustained boost to the economy without the risks of inflation, because inflation, the weakening of the US dollar, the rising of prices, is something that all economists are concerned about, and their goal is to try and keep inflation under 2%. That's how it has been, and the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell predicted that he had no problems about long-term inflation, and he estimated that it would be within a normal range for the next 10 years, which is a very encouraging sign. And the fact that a lot of the stimulus money is being stashed actually allows us to not worry about inflation, because it's not like everyone's going to rush tomorrow to go and buy clothes and to rush into restaurants. It's going to happen slowly. It's going to happen at different stages across the country, and different people are going to make different decisions to spend the money that they are saving right now. So let's take a closer look at how individuals would actually spend the third stimulus check. On your screen, you'll see a chart from a Bloomberg Morning Consult survey. You can see that 34% would save the money, 30% would spend the money on food, 22% on housing. Now, this is an interesting one. 18% would spend that money on paying off credit card debt, which is a good thing. reducing our debt burden is a good thing. So there are a lot of really good use cases for this money. Folks, I want to be clear. Are there going to be individuals who try and just gamble that money in the stock market and try and double their money overnight? Yeah, of course, there's always going to be that. That's going to exist until the end of time. But the good thing is that a rise in savings rates allows us to have more financial freedom. Let me show you the cycle of poverty on your screen again. If you have money, you no longer have to worry about any of these things. In fact, I believe that there's an emotional and a psychological component to money. If you know you don't have to worry about your next meal, if you know you don't have to worry about paying rent, if you know you don't have to worry about keeping the lights on, it allows you to live with less emotional stress. It allows you to be psychologically free, to maybe do other things, pursue your hobbies, pursue your passions, make more money in the process. I have to be completely honest with you. I own multiple businesses. I own many single family rental homes across the country. I don't have to worry about where my next meal comes from. This YouTube channel is a passion project for me, and honestly it's become a business in and of its own self because I do this out of passion. You can see my passion in these videos compared to compared to some other channels where the host looks completely exhausted, and compared to other channels where they're just pumping out the same redundant information. You can see my passion partly because I'm a nerd, and I'm able to do this because I've been able to escape the cycle of poverty that you see on your screen, and I'm able to have that consistency of income. I'm able to look at my bank account and go, all right, I'm good. So I want the same thing for you. And if the stimulus checks provide you or someone with that level of comfort, with that level of emotional bliss, why not? That's a good thing. By the way, let's put that chart back up on your screen on how people are spending the third stimulus check. And I find the few things at the bottom of the chart very interesting: education, electronics, investment in cryptocurrencies, and student loans. Folks, one thing that's extremely interesting is, depending on a person's income level, are they more likely or less likely to save the third stimulus check? Okay. Now, I think most of us will agree that the higher the income level of the person has income coming in, they are more likely to save the stimulus check. But what's interesting is that this increased tendency to save the third stimulus check is consistent across all income levels. Now, is it more amongst rich people? Yeah, of course. But what's interesting is that individuals of all income levels are more likely to save the third stimulus check. And a big reason for that is we were all in a major crisis last spring. We were all in a major crisis when the $2.2 trillion CARES Act was passed, when the $1,200 stimulus check went out. People were like, where's my check? Where's my check? But now many of us are in a slightly better situation, although we're not completely out of the woods yet as a country. Let's show you this chart on your screen that shows you the breakdown of the likelihood of someone to save the third stimulus check by annual household income. Now, the black portion represents the first stimulus check, and that red portion represents the third stimulus check. You'll see that individuals making less than $50,000 a year, they were at 17% likely to save back in March last year. But now, those same individuals making less than $50,000 a year are at 29%. For individuals making between $50,000 and $100,000 a year, they were at 32% likely to save the first stimulus check, but now 37% of them are likely to save the third stimulus check. And let's take a look at individuals making more than $100,000 a year. 29%. By the way, this is super interesting. The individuals making more than $100,000 a year were less likely to save the first stimulus check relative to individuals making $50,000 to $100,000 a year. So we're comparing the 29% with 32%. That's super interesting right there. But anyway, individuals making more than $100,000 a year are more likely to save the third stimulus check, up from 29% to 41% as a result of the change in their circumstances right now. By the way, one of the reasons I believe an individual making more than $100,000, basically needed the money and was less likely to save it is they probably had much higher expenses, big car payments, a huge mortgage, other expenses that they had to quickly cut back on. And I believe individuals living in the $50,000 to $100,000 range were sort of in that financial zone where they were not in a bad situation, but they weren't like super awesome. So they probably kept a lid on their expenses and were able to ride out the crisis a little bit better than someone making more than $100,000. That is my belief. And I believe that based on the numbers that you see on your screen right now, and folks, according to data from financial aggregators, there was a 51% jump in security deposits at brokerages among people who got their stimulus checks, the second stimulus check, the $600 stimulus check in December and January. And in the lowest income group, they found those earning less than $35,000, the number of new trading accounts more than doubled, because people who essentially didn't have much money and people who now got a stimulus check wanted to try their luck at the stock market and grow their money. And that essentially and interestingly and in many ways ironically led to the GameStop situation gathering so much media attention. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. Please give me a like, please subscribe, please enable notifications. That would mean a lot to me. That really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I appreciate you all. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.